Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of 903 Sports. We got a full crew today, joined by Hunter Shattuck, Trent Sansom, Mason Cudd, and Jeffrey Yeager. And I am your host, Cameron Brown. We're going to talk a little NFL football, conference championship weekend, another unbelievable weekend in football. That is both of the games decided by a field goal again. I saw a tweet this week about the last 6 NFL playoff games are all decided by a combined total of 21 points. Combined total. And that is unreal. We've been spoiled with some really good football. We'll dive right into it, start talking about the Bengals Chiefs. The Bengals come back, storm back, and beat the Chiefs 27-24 in overtime. Big upset there. Joe Burrow, the Bengals, the team of destiny, they keep rolling on. Joe Burrow can't beat the guy. I mean, he's a winner. I don't know if y'all saw his pregame outfit, but when that guy came out looking like that, I was like, oh my goodness, this guy, he's ready to roll. So, Yeager, I'll let you jump right into it. How in the world did the Bengals win this game? They were down 21-3 at one point. It was 21-10 right before the half, and the Chiefs blundered the clock trying to score to go up 28-10, didn't score, changed the entire football game. So I'll let you jump in. How in the world the Bengals still alive? I mean, they just keep winning these games where it doesn't look like they have a chance. And at the end of the game, when the clock hits zero, they've won by field goal again. So I'll let you go ahead, Yade.
I think there are two things. I think there are two things from this game that really swung the momentum. It was the stop right at the half. You know, the Tyreek Hill screen pass, the Bengals defense making a stop on the one, the clock runs out. Like, I think that was just huge because what would it have been, 28-3 going into halftime if they had scored that?
Would have been 28-10, and that's a big difference in 28-10 and 21-10.
Yeah, so it would have been 28-10, and I just think, like, when you even though, like, they were still down 11, the fact, like, just giving a defense that kind of momentum, that kind of confidence, like, "Hey, we stopped this offense at the 1, like, we can do this." And so they went into that halftime thinking, "You know what? We've still got a shot." And Joe Burrow, I just don't think the guy he's one of those dudes that is just the game isn't over until the fourth quarter whistle blows. You know, the round of golf isn't over until the 18th green is, I've put it in the 18th hole. And so I think the other thing that really um, was the big momentum swing is when they scored that touchdown and converted the 2-point conversion. But I think the 2-point conversion was really key for two reasons. Number one, obviously, it tied the game at 21 apiece. But number two is if you go back and actually watch that play, that guy that Joe Burrow threw to was wide open. And I think when people saw that, like, yo, they're just like Jamar Chase is just going up over our guy to get the touchdown. And then they're running a play where this dude's wide open to tie the game. I think everyone in the stadium started to hold their breath a little bit. And I think Pat Mahomes is like, oh my God, like, I got to go out and make something happen because the defense is getting smoked. I think everyone's knees just got weak. And I think that's how the Bengals did it is, second half they came out and said, we're playing with nothing to lose. And I think that's a dangerous team to have to play. When you like, just like in March Madness, if you have to play a team that is going out like we can just throw them up because we've got nothing to lose, that is a dangerous team to have to play.
Yeah, it just felt like you're talking about. Yeah, you get at the end of the half, it's 21-10. Chiefs are in complete control of the ball game, and they're on the like 3 yard line, run a play, don't score, and then they throw the pass to Tyreek Hill and he gets lit up short of the goal line, and then all of a sudden it's at 0 seconds, and they went in the locker room thinking, okay, we're only down 2 scores, and we've got Joe Burrow as our quarterback. Like we can rock and roll now. And then the Chiefs just kind of came out flat in the second half, only scored 3 points. And that was at the very, very end of the game on the Harrison Butker field goal when the Chiefs were on like the 15-yard line, maybe, and got to like the 5 and on second and goal. And it was almost like the Chiefs were so concerned with scoring too quickly and giving the ball back to Joe Burrow with a minute to go instead of just go ahead and score. And if you give it to Burrow, whatever happens, happens. Trust your defense. They were trying to eat as much clock as possible, and it bit him in the butt. And Patrick Mahomes fumbled the ball, and the Bengals almost recovered it. So, I mean, near disaster there. They still made the field goal, and then obviously got beaten overtime. But ever since that goal line stand, the Bengals had all the momentum. So Hunter, I'll let you jump in and talk about, the Chiefs. Now they're fourth straight AFC championship, and they're only one Super Bowl in that run. So it just seems like all the talent the Chiefs have, and they're trying to get this. I don't want to call it a dynasty, but I mean somewhat of a dynasty thing going. And what's next for the Chiefs? How did they blow this game when they were in complete control, looking flawless in the first half?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned dynasty there because it feels like a dynasty, but they only have one Super Bowl. It's like I think we mentioned a couple weeks ago. Just it got brought up that Jordan Spieth only has one Masters, and it feels like you should have four. That's how the
Right.
Chiefs feel with Super Bowls. You watch them play, and it feels like week in and week out they're the best team in football over the last 4 seasons, and they have one Super Bowl to show for it. And it watching that second half, it did not feel like that team had any conviction. They didn't feel like they didn't have any sort of belief that they were going to win that football game, which is weird because clearly they were rolling in the first half. Like Yeager said, they had that blunder there at the end of the first half, and it looked like that shook them. Like it looked like they had doubt in their mind on, can we do this? Can we hold off this Cincinnati Bengals team, which is just crazy to think that the Chiefs would be scared of a Cincinnati Bengals team led by a second-year quarterback, but that's what it looked like. If somebody only watched that second half, they would think that the Bengals came in the team to beat. They looked like the team that just had the belief that they were going to come back and make something happen, and the Chiefs looked like the underdog that got off to a hot start and then crumbled under the pressure. That's what it looked like, which is just such a strange thing to see. So I guess to your point, I don't quite know why it seems like the Chiefs can't ever get it across the finish line, but that's definitely what it looks like. And they looked so flat last year in the Super Bowl, and it kind of had a similar feeling in the second half this week, where it just seemed like they had nothing. They got all the way there and almost looked like they had kind of their eyes got real big, like, oh my gosh, look how close we are to our goal, and then just crumbled. And so I don't know why, but it's crazy to see because they, like you said, they have all the talent in the world.
Yeah, it just seems like this is their prime years. I mean, you got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, and Mahomes all in their prime. And the defense is kind of spotty here and there, but I mean, this is kind of win now time for the Chiefs. Your window in the NFL is short, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where they go from there and how they bounce back next season. But I also want to talk about one thing from the game that was kind of lost. And we're all talking about how good Joe Burrow is, and he's unbelievable. But the Bengals defense stepped up in the second half. I mean, they had to pitch a perfect game in the second half. Essentially, I mean, the Chiefs were moving the ball at will. I think Mahomes only had like 2 incomplete passes in the first half, and he had maybe 3 touchdowns at halftime, and he was just completely carving them up. And then the Bengals defense, I don't know what kind of speech Zach Taylor gave at halftime, but it must have been a hell of a speech because they came out rolling, made Mahomes turn over twice in the second half and overtime. So big shout out to that unit for stepping up because that was they were spotty all year long as well. But Carl, I'll let you jump in here and talk a little about the ball game. And I mean, I know we're talking about the defense and how good is Joe Burrow. I mean, that guy has zero fear.
Yeah, like you were just saying, I mean, that last stand was huge because not only if they did score that touchdown, they're up 28-10 at half, they get the ball, it could have been 35-10, and, in the blink of an eye. And then pretty much from there, they would have been done. But to go back in the first half, the Bengals were down 21-3. They were struggling to get a first down, much less put some points together. And that 45-yard screen pass to Samaje Perine really just kind of opened up the game for them. From then on, they were able to, put together, even if they didn't score any points, they were able to get a couple first downs, maybe punt or whatever. But I thought that was huge, and that magic number 11, they were down 11 at half the week before that, and they came back to win. But to that, the play that everyone's talking about before half is honestly, I didn't mind the play, but if they're not in the end zone, I was surprised Pat just didn't throw it at Tyreek's feet and had 2 or 3 seconds left or a second to kick. I thought that was kind of poor decision. But at the same time, I don't fault Andy Reid for saying, you know what, let's just give it to Pat. Let's see what we can do. I mean, we need a yard, and that would have been a huge swing. Like I was just saying, they score a touchdown and they know they're getting the ball coming out of half. So, yeah, I thought that was wild. And then, like you were just saying, Cameron, second half, Bengals D was flying to the ball. and they went down. Was it the first possession? They scored another field goal, and then Pat threw that pick to the D lineman. They score and get a 2-point, and just like that, it's a tie game. I mean, and then like you were saying, Yeg, pretty much looks like the Chiefs were like, whoa, and I feel like Pat was probably like, okay, I need to make a big play now, which he really didn't, So, and it was an amazing finish, and I'm happy for the Bengals. That city and those fans they've been through a lot since I've been alive. So, but that was a hell of a ball game.
Yeah, it seems like when Mahomes threw that pick to the big man when it was 21-13 and maybe his beginning fourth quarter, late third, that's when I kind of sat up and was like, holy hell, Cincinnati's got a shot here. I mean, they have all the momentum. And then like Jaeger was talking about earlier, they went down, scored, got the 2-point conversion, and at the drop of a hat, were tied up. So, and then they end up beating him at the end of the game in overtime. What a run they're on. That's what my next question was going to be. And I'll ask you, I'll get you in here, Trent, and ask you, are the Bengals a team of destiny? I mean, they had no business beating the Titans last week, and they pulled late on a late field goal on a Tannehill pick, and they pulled through again and win on a field goal this week. And in the wild card game against the Raiders, they had a D-line stand to save the game from going to overtime. So, I mean, are the Bengals a team of destiny? Is this their year? I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, no, I was talking to my brother this weekend. And he told me at the beginning of the season, I don't remember what radio show he was listening to, but they said they had found an odds maker that had, I think, $100, or it was 30-1 odds for the Bengals to have over 8 wins this season. So imagine putting $100 on that.
Wow.
That'd have made you pretty profitable. But I think they ended up being the 4th seed in the AFC. And then, like you said, they've had a field goal game ever since the wild card game. Beating the Raiders by 3, beating the Titans by 3, and then beating the Chiefs by 3. But yeah, I mean, I would go to say, especially after, I think Cincinnati hadn't even won a divisional round game in my lifetime, much like the Cowboys.
First one in 30 years.
First one in 30 years. So, yeah, I agree with you, Cameron. I think it's just team of destiny. And I remember Jeff's been saying it all along, man. You cannot count out Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that's just not a guy to bet against. And just kind of a food for thought. And it's easy for me to use the Jets here, but the Bengals, I think, won 4 games last year, and I know Burrow got hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, what the Bengals are doing this year would be like the New York Jets going on a run next year and going to the Super Bowl. I mean, the Jets obviously won't because they're the Jets, but it's the same thing. They won 4 games this year, and they have it'd be Zach Wilson's second year, so it's kind of a scenario like that.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to imagine that right now. But if this was last year, we're talking about the Bengals, you'd be like, no way, Brown. The Bengals aren't going anywhere. So,
well, think about it like this too. It'd be like the Jaguars in 2 years doing that, because the Bengals 2 years ago, before Burrow got there, were like the Jaguars.
The Bengals were horrible.
Yeah, they won a game, or did they even win a game?
They won one game with any.
So it'd be like saying the Jaguars are going to be in the Super Bowl in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I mean, the Bengals were projected last in the division this year.
Yeah,
no one was giving them a chance, and then they've gone on this run, and it shows you what a generational talent Joe Burrow is, and how good Jamar Chase has been, and Joe Mixon, and they have some weapons.
Yeah,
you got to get that O-line piece up, and we'll kind of get into the Bengals Rams Super Bowl. I mean, that O-line's going to have to really step it up if Cincinnati's going to want to win. If they're going to want to win the big one, because that Rams defense is going to be nasty. So
between Joe Burrow and Evan McPherson, those 2 guys have single-handedly changed the outlook of that franchise.
Evan McPherson is a dog. That guy is blooded, man. I mean, he has zero fear. 2 game winners in the playoffs. He's a rookie. Hey. He's younger than everybody on this pod. This guy's kicking game winners in the playoffs.
Brown, what is it?
And he loves it.
He loves it.
What does he have, Brown?
Iron boot.
That's right.
He's an animal, Evan McPherson. So, let me ask you this. You touched on it, and that's an interesting point. So, going back to the Bengals game, Chiefs game, when the Chiefs had that blunder at the end of the first half, who does that fall on to you? Is that on Andy Reid, a guy who, a lot like Mike McCarthy, Andy Reid, a lot of time management blunders in that area? I mean, Andy Reid's more of a winner than Mike McCarthy, don't get me wrong, but Andy Reid's had his bad history of blunders like that in the first half. So you throw that on Pat, you throw that on Tyreek Hill, Andy Reid, what do you think, Hud?
Honestly, I don't fault Andy Reid for the call to go for it. I mean, you're on the 1 yard line. You got Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's not like they're on the 20 and they're trying to get a touchdown. I mean, I don't think that's a bad mistake at all. You're in the playoffs at home. give the ball to your best player and see what you can do. Now, I hate that, I thought Pat made the mistake of actually throwing it to Tyreek. I thought he should have just clocked it down and then they could have kicked, because that was a pretty quick play, honestly. So if he just threw it at his feet, I think they would have had a second or two to get Harrison Butker out there. So I don't think it was anything near like an atrocity call like Mike McCarthy has done. But at the hindsight's 2020, that 3 points really could have maybe affected the outcome of the game. But honestly, I don't blame Andy Reid for saying, you know what, let's see what we can do here. And I think partly why he did that even more is he knew they were getting the ball in the second half. So I think it was a good call, even though they didn't get anything.
Yeah, I've got no problem with the call. I mean, 24-10 would have been a huge win for the Bengals at the goal line. I mean, obviously 21-10 was better, but if you'd have gave them the opportunity to be down 24-10, they'd have taken it. Because 28-10, you're pretty much dead. There's not much coming back from that. But somebody's got to be in Pat's ear, and it's easy for us to say we're not playing the game, but someone's got to be in Pat's ear and say, hey, this has got to go to the end zone, and it's got to be quick. There's no time to kind of stall around and then throw one short of the end zone, because that's what happened with Tyreek Hill. And that play changed the entire football game.
Yeah. If anything, I would fault the play call. I mean, I think they just did 2 bubble screens and like little curl routes.
Yeah, that really shouldn't even been an option.
Yeah, I would add some slants or something moving around, just a quick, receiver make 2 steps and then make a cut and then boom, there's the ball. Yeah, if anything, I'm faulting the play call. If anything.
That's what I think too. Honestly, if you go back and seriously, anytime there's just short yardage, like you just need to pick up 4 or 5 yards with the Chiefs, who is Mr. Automatic? Like Travis Kelce. Like it literally almost frustrates me watching Chiefs games. They get in a hole and then Travis Kelce just can go up and get it. He can overpower a linebacker. He can run a lot faster than a linebacker. He's, too far up for safety. It's almost frustrating. Like, I'm surprised they didn't design that play for Travis Kelce, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I know we all hate the fade today, and I can't stand it either, but that just kind of seemed like a quick, throw it up to your tallest guy in Travis Kelce and see if you can get it. If not, you'll have a second or 2 left and you can kick it. I think they put a little too much trust in Tyreek Hill's legs to get around that corner in the end there, or the pocket collapse on Pat. It just kind of panicked. And again, it's easy for me to say after the game, but I mean, like we keep saying, that changed the entire football game. And, I just didn't know if y'all thought that kind of goes on Andy Reid's record of all his history of time management blunders, or this is on Pat. And I would agree with Cut. I would say it's either on the guy who called the route for Tyreek Hill to go there, or it's on Pat for not getting the ball in the end zone. So,
the thing about this is I don't really know if we fault anyone for the halftime thing. Like, I don't think that's really the highlight of, the Chiefs. This was the turning point, right? Because honestly, they scored 3 points in the entire second half. They only had 42 yards of offense in the whole third quarter.
Yeah, they couldn't get anything going.
Bro, you could literally just hand the ball off in the I formation and just have them run up the middle and get more than 42 yards every single play. I'm being totally serious. Like, that's just absurd that they only had 42 yards. Like, there's the second half, it looked like the Chiefs came out and they were like, we don't really want to be here anymore.
The Chiefs thought their work. I mean, they obviously didn't think, but it just, the way they were playing made it look like, our work's done here. Like we've got this thing wrapped up. Little do they know Joe Burrow's on the other sideline, and that guy's never going to roll over, and he's got too much talent. And the Bengals defense played the half of their season this year. So yeah, the Chiefs just kind of came out just kind of satisfied in the second half. And I've never seen more of a differing halves than Pat Mahomes had. He was absolutely flawless in the first half. Was absolutely terrible in the second half. I think he threw 2 picks, no touchdowns in the second half. I mean, it was bad. The Bengals secondary stepped up. Nobody could get open. That last scramble Pat had, he's running around. And I mean, nobody was open for that long. Just, unreal work by the Bengals secondary.
Reminds me of my time in high school golf. I'm front and back nines all the time, dude. You remember that Jayville tournament where I shot 48, 33 to shoot 81?
Yeah,
it was the craziest.
Never forget.
It was 12. I shot 12 over 200 to shoot 81 in that tournament. It was crazy.
What a comeback, yeah. Absolutely
I know-
identical to what the Bengals just did in the AFC Championship.
or even in that Ryder Cup where you had me down 4 through 7.
We're not talking about that on this pod, Yang. Only positive thing for me on this
Hey,
pod.
no, if I hadn't have hit the flag stick on 16, I would have been about a foot and I would have won the last 3 holes. You would have gone down. So you think you're lucky stars. I was too accurate on that shot.
Oh man, good times in the Ryder Cups, boys. So I want to touch on one more thing about we're talking about AFC football here, and Hunter, I'll let you touch on this. How loaded are the AFC QBs? I mean, some of these teams have got to step it up. Now you have Joe Burrow and the Bengals in the equation. You've already got Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, Josh Allen, the Bills, Mahomes and the Chiefs, Herbert Chargers, Mac Jones Patriots. The Browns Browns are a team. If Baker can step it up, I mean, it's going to be hard for some of these teams to kind of jump in here with all these QBs. It's really a bright time in the AFC for these young quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And it's weird. I guess the games this weekend were the perfect kind of microcosm of what you're just talking about, because you watch Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes go after it, and then the game right after that is Jimmy Garoppolo against Matthew Stafford. And yeah, the AFC is significantly much more loaded than the NFC, and it's almost shocking, right? Because you've got Aaron Rodgers, who knows what's going to be happening with his future. Tom Brady's basically retired. I mean, he is retired. He just hadn't confirmed it yet. So the NFC is losing good quarterbacks, and the AFC just seems to be loaded. And we were talking about Tannehill, I think last week or maybe the week before, and I didn't get to say this, but I think if you're the Titans, you have to look around and think, yeah, Tannehill might be an okay quarterback. He might be an average quarterback. But if you're trying to win the Super Bowl, you can't get out of the AFC with an average quarterback. That's just not going to happen, because like you just listed all those names and all those young guys who are not getting any worse anytime soon. And if you're a GM in the AFC, you got to look around and think, hey, like we got to make something happen, because Tannehill's not the guy to go toe to toe with any of these quarterbacks. And so I don't know what the answer is specifically for the Titans, but it ain't Ryan Tannehill. And it's just going to be brutal to try and get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC for the next 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, that all these young QBs stepping up is going to be really eye-opening for some of these GMs and some of these teams, being like, hey, is Ryan Tannehill my guy? NFC, is Jimmy Garoppolo my guy? Like, average QBs aren't really going to get it done in today's age. There's not going to be your Joe Flacco type runs. There's too many good young quarterbacks in the league that can carry these football teams. So, I mean, that's something the Titans are going to have to look at this offseason. Something the Browns are going to have to look at with Baker Mayfield and so forth. So, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers, Hunter. I want to ask you this one more question. I saw a comparison of, Rodgers and Mahomes, and the tweet said, was Rodgers talking to Mahomes and said, hey, you don't know it yet, but you're just me in the future. And I mean, I thought about it and was like, Rodgers only won one Super Bowl in Green Bay. And he's honestly maybe the most talented quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And Pat Mahomes is one of the most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen in my entire life. And he's still very young. I mean, I don't want to crush Pat. He's been to 4 straight AFC championships. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. But, you start to lose Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, those guys may go off and you lose your big weapons. Things could change, and that kind of run they're on can go away. You may only get left with that one Super Bowl. So is that a crazy comparison?
No, not at all. So think about this. So when I think of great quarterbacks that I've seen in my life, it's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. And when I talk about Tom Brady, I talk about how great of a winner he is, how great of a leader he is. And then when you talk about Aaron Rodgers, it's, the arm talent, or, the throws he can make, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's the difference there. And then you look at Pat, and it's, oh my gosh, look at his arm, the throws he makes, the sidearm throw, everything is about his talent. And then we just sat here and talked about Joe Burrow, about how he's a winner, about how you should never count out Joe Burrow. We didn't talk about his arm talent or the crazy throws he can make. We were talking about him as a winner. And I don't think we'll ever have that conversation about Pat, which is kind of crazy to say. And yeah, I think the comparison couldn't be more spot on. Now, of course, that could change. Like you said, Pat's young. But as of right now, I mean, that's as good of a comparison as I can think of.
Yeah, and I would say those are probably just pure talent-wise. Those are the most 2 talented quarterbacks I've ever seen in the NFL. And I think, it's a good, really, really good point on Burrow. We're talking about Burrow as a winner. Burrow has, all the intangibles, obviously. Great.
Yeah, I'm
arm.
not trying to take anything away from his arm or talent or anything, but he's a winner, and that's
you think
clear.
for Burrow, you think winner. So yeah, I love that comparison. So
I think Shattuck's spot on, and I wanted to say something about this because I think Shattuck is spot on. They always say everything I've heard for the last couple of years is the road is through the Chiefs for the AFC, right? But you got to think about it's going to be a roll of the dice who comes out of the AFC every year. Like the Chiefs may win 1, 2, maybe 3 playoff games every year and go to the Super Bowl and lose. But the thing is, coming out of the AFC, they're going to have to play Lamar Jackson. They're going to have to play Joe Burrow. They're going to have to play Josh Allen. They're going to have to play Mac Jones, as soon as the Patriots start getting their stuff together. They can easily have another bad game. That's the crazy thing about the playoffs is your record goes out the window and it's just 60 minutes. It's who's better for 60 minutes. And I think the Chiefs, they're starting to show that they kind of have an Achilles heel. And it's when they get comfortable, they let other teams find a way to beat them.
Yeah, that's a good point. The Chiefs getting too comfortable and in making mistakes where it really counts in the second half, and it kind of leads you to get beat. So,
you look at the Bills game, it almost worked in the Chiefs' favor for Josh Allen to keep coming back and keep tying the game or going ahead because it forced the Chiefs to stay in overdrive. Whereas with the Bengals, they kind of put it down, back down in the first gear and just let it go.
And let Cincinnati come back and win the game and essentially bounce them from the playoffs. So that's kind of all I want to touch on that game. Just an unreal run the Bengals are on. I mean, who in the world would have thought the Bengals would be your AFC champion at the beginning of the season? So I want to jump into the second game. Niners-Rams, nowhere near as interesting as a football game as the first one. We had 2 great generational quarterbacks and Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes in the first game. In the second one, we get, Matt Stafford, who, everyone has an opinion on him. Great arm talent. Hasn't had a lot of success in the league as far as wins. I know Trent would love to talk about that. And then Jimmy G, who's probably not going to be the starting QB for the Niners this year, who's about as average as it gets as far as NFL. And that was more of your defense kind of run game, punch it out type game. And the Rams came back down 17-7 the fourth quarter and beat the Niners 20-17, which is just another collapse for Kyle Shanahan. And that's something I really want to talk about. I mean, listen to this. Fourth quarter blown leads, Kyle Shanahan. In the Super Bowl, 28-3 against the Patriots. They lost that game. In the Super Bowl in 2019 against the Chiefs, they were up 20-10. They were dominating that entire game, fell apart in the last 6 minutes. And then with about 12 minutes to go in the NFC Championship yesterday, Niners are up 17-7 and lost the game. So I don't know what in the world Kyle Shanahan's doing in these big games, but I mean, he's starting to get a pretty good rap sheet on these collapses. And the Niners are out. I mean, we can blame Jimmy G and all these other things, but it's another game that the Niners had won, and then it got away from them in the last 10 minutes of the game. So, Cut, I'll let you jump in here and talk a little about the Niners and, what in the world's going on with these, collapses in Kyle Shanahan coach ball games.
Yeah, I mean, like you point out those last losses, it seems like Kyle's going to have to make a deal with the devil because something ain't right. And
that's tough to swallow, those losses.
Yeah, I mean, that's just brutal, But the Niners, I figured going into that game, they rely more on that, hammer football, run the ball right at you. And that Rams front seven, we all were talking about it last week. They're a pretty physical ball club. And I figured, if Jimmy G had to throw the ball to win that game, they're going to be in trouble. And sure enough, it kind of came down to some plays where he threw some bad balls and stuff like that. But yeah, other collapse, Rams outscored them 13-0 in the fourth quarter to win the game. And yeah, it was just a complete collapse.
And if you're a Niners fan, you're really sick because the Rams front seven is the best in the league and one of the best I've seen in several years. And they didn't do anything until the last couple minutes of the game. And the Niners O-line shut them down. Jimmy G had time to throw, got the run going, got Deebo Samuel involved, their Swiss Army knife. Niners defense played good, made Stafford turn the ball over, kept the run game intact. I mean, the Niners did everything they they needed to do to win that game, even with a limited Jimmy G at QB. And then they went away from everything they've done all game, and you make Jimmy G throw the ball 3 times on a drive, go 3 and out, and move on. And it just kept the Rams back in it. And then when that safety for the Niners dropped the interception, it was like, okay, here we go. It's just not the Niners' day. I mean, that Stafford threw up that absolute punt, just a duck, and it went right to his hands. And you're like, oh my gosh, that guy's going to be sick to his stomach. So I know if you're a Niners fan, that's tough to stomach because now your future's kind of uncertain. Jimmy G might not be back. Where do we go from here? So, I mean, that's a really, really tough loss to swallow. So I want to talk about the winning team, the LA Rams, and Trent's favorite quarterback in the league, Matthew Stafford, is going to the Super Bowl, and he's getting to play at home in the Super Bowl. So, Trent, let me ask you this. Rams win the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford, Hall of Famer?
I'll have to eat crow because I've been saying how average he is. And I still think he's average. I mean, he's got to win because here's the thing. What do we think about Jared Goff? Average, right? Pretty average.
He's below average.
So he's below average.
For NFL standards. Everything's NFL standards.
Okay. So he got this Rams team to a Super Bowl with less talent.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Now I will say Stafford probably has better numbers than Goff, but it ain't much of a comparison to me until he wins. He needs to win. Now, I've been really hard on him. It's probably unfair, but it's just one of the biases I have. But until he wins, you don't look at Matt Stafford and think, oh man, that guy's a winner.
I would group Matt Stafford in with like Matt Ryan and I don't want to say Joe Flacco because he won a Super Bowl. I mean, quarterbacks like.
Yeah. Hey, okay, hold on. You
Flacco
mentioned
won
a
a
point
Super
about Joe Flacco. You said a quarterback in this day and age can't go and win if you're just an average quarterback. You can't take your team to a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco did that, and Aaron Rodgers in the league, Tom Brady in the league, Peyton Manning in the league.
That was a different game.
I want
do
to
you-
back up Trent here. Do you know who Joe Flacco beat?
He went on a run. I mean, he was Joey playoffs.
He beat Andrew Luck and the Colts.
Yeah.
Then he beat Peyton Manning and the Broncos, and then he beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, and then went to the Super Bowl and won.
That was a 1 year
Like you're talking
one-off thing.
Yeah, but I'm
you're
telling
talking about people say that Andrew Luck is like one of the greatest talents to ever
he
come into the
Okay,
NFL.
I'm going to stop you right there. All right,
Talent
listen.
wise.
Thank you,
Andrew
Jeff.
Luck does not have a clutch bone in his body. All right. So
He
that
was
win,
still a great talent.
He
listen,
was a great talent.
listen. He's a great talent. Excellent talent.
Didn't he get drafted the Colts first overall and then end up winning like 13 games his first year or something like
He's
that?
a great quarterback.
How
He's
did we
an
get
excellent
Tom Brady
quarterback.
Exactly.
Luck here? Where are we going here?
Listen. All right.
What
that
I'm
year-
saying is if Joe Flacco can do it, all it takes is an average quarterback putting it together for 180 minutes.
Did you
and
hear
all
the
of a sudden
names
they're
that
in the Super
Cameron
Bowl.
rattled off
Exactly
earlier?
right, Jeff.
It's a different league. It is a
Way
different league
way
with
different
quarterback
ball
standards.
now.
I
Exactly.
disagree. I
And
disagree.
and offenses and defensive, they've changed, and the game relies on the quarterback so much more now than it did then.
Why do y'all think guys like Andy Dalton and Matt Ryan and these slow, not athlete QBs are getting pushed out of the game and they can't win anymore? It's a different league.
No.
It is.
First of all, Matt Ryan's old. That's why he's slow.
Okay, that's fair.
And the
Cut's
best
faster than
quarterback
Matt.
to ever
Cut-
do it doesn't have a
Cut
mobile
is
bone in
fast.
his body.
He
Yeah.
also
Cut is
throws
faster
by the
than
best
Matt
line
Ryan.
in the game. Tom Brady
Yeah.
does. And he's also Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't belong in any category here. He's in a league of his own and everything. he does.
Correct.
I agree, though. I think there's still like Jeff was just saying, who Joe Flacco had to beat for this example. I mean, it doesn't get that much more talented of teams and quarterbacks you had to go through. And if you just put together a good game, you don't have to have 450 yards throwing. You make some good throws. Your running back makes some good plays. Defense plays good. I mean,
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what,
mean,
Cut.
That's
I,
exactly right,
not-
Cud.
Okay.
I think y'all may
it's
be
not
right.
all
Listen,
that.
No,
I think y'all may
they're
be
not
right. If
They're-
Matthew
they're not right.
Stafford can make it to the Super Bowl, he's playing at home. There's a decent
Look-
chance they'll end up winning the Super Bowl, and then we'll have another average quarterback winning a championship. So maybe I'm just wrong there. I don't know.
No, Hunter.
No,
stay
look,
with me
listen,
here.
listen.
They're wrong. Go. Hang on, Yake. Let me get in here. Let me just ask y'all this real quick. Any of the 6 QBs I just listed, Herbert, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, if they're the QB of the Niners, they win that game handily yesterday. Am I right or am I wrong?
I think you're right.
It might
Depends. It's a
even
totally
get
different
better.
game. It's a totally different game. We can't say. I mean, look, if going to the Super Bowl is based off QB talent alone, Aaron Rodgers would have had a lot more Super Bowls and played in a lot more Super Bowls. Same thing with Pat Mahomes. It's not just about how
That's
great
not-
of a quarterback
that's
you
not
are.
my
It's about
point.
being a winning quarterback,
gotta
having
be-
a winning
thank you.
quarterback.
So Hunter's point earlier, he was talking about Rodgers and Mahomes being very similar. Look, this is big shoes to fill, but Burrow, you may be looking at the next Brady. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go out and win 7 Super Bowls, but
The same
kid
killer
there-
instinct. The same killer instinct. He's not going to win
Yeah.
7 Super Bowls, but he has the same
Exactly.
look in his eye at the end of a game. Like, I want him with
Yeah.
the football at
Yeah.
the end of a game.
He can do
Listen,
just
if a
enough
dog's
to
going to
beat
bite, they're going to bite as a pup.
We've got to have some of the most insane.
You know, that-
mini podcast.
That's an awesome quote.
That is an awesome.
That,
We're gonna have to bite that and tweet that out, Hunter. I'm counting on you to do that. But I mean that. But
I'll get on it.
my point is if do you want Ryan Tannehill or Jimmy G leading your team, or do you want Justin Herbert, Pat Mahomes, Lamar, and Josh Allen and these cats leading your ball club?
I
Ryan
want Joe Burrow and
Tannehill.
Josh Allen.
I'll tell you this: Ryan Tannehill will never win a Super Bowl in Tennessee ever. It's not gonna happen.
Well, I said it when we were talking about Tannehill the first time. You're never going to be able to win a Super Bowl because of Ryan Tannehill. Now, you can get the right opponents on the right day and win a Super Bowl in spite of Ryan Tannehill, but you're never going to win one because of Ryan Tannehill. And I think it's getting very, very difficult to win a Super Bowl in spite of a quarterback now. I think that's my point. You might can do it. The Rams might accidentally win a Super Bowl in spite of Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, but see, I think Stafford's a better QB than I keep
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
But he's just like the
Yeah, I agree.
like the protege average NFL quarterback. Like
Yeah,
guys,
I wouldn't put Matthew Stafford in my top 8 or 10 quarterbacks.
I would put Stafford above Ryan Tannehill and below those other guys I keep listing. I mean, he's
Yeah.
kind of right in that mix. You know, he's a fringe Hall of Famer. You know, you can. I'm okay with either take, whether he is or he isn't. But
I think he's
my whole point is, do you really think you can win with guys like I can't think of any quarterbacks right now like Baker or Tannehill, just a very average NFL quarterback, and we haven't seen him. I mean, think about
a guy like Bridgewater or somebody who's just a stock issue
Bridgewater's a
quarterback.
good name. Yeah, exactly.
look,
it's
all
not-
I'm saying is I do think you can win with a guy like that. It's happened before. Think about the Giants in 2011. They had to go beat Matt Ryan and the Falcons. They beat the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers 37-20.
Yeah,
in
and
the
Eli
divisional round.
Eli's no scrub though.
Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, Colin Kaepernick, but who cares? And then Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Not only Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, but I'm pretty sure he was a 99 overall rank that year. I'm pretty sure, like, if you go back to Madden, that year's New York Patriots or freaking New England Patriots team was like one of the most highly ranked of all time.
But what's
Like,
your
all time.
16-0.
My point is, I do think that it's a different, like, there are guys that are average in the regular season that if you can just turn it, if you can have a couple lucky days, you can win. Like, I don't think the NFL's like that one, it's the one league where bringing everything down to a science and to statistics is not going to make things uber predictable. And I think Joe Burrow is a great example of that this year. Like, back in 2012, if you had said, hey, Joe Flacco is going to go out and beat Andrew Luck and then Peyton Manning and then Tom Brady and then go to the Super Bowl and win, you would have been like, you're crazy, right? Joe Flacco, absolutely not. And I think this year at the beginning of the season, if you had been like, Joe Burrow coming off an MCL, ACL, PCL, whatever knee injury is going to go out and win, what'd they win? 11, 12 games, something like that. And then beat
10 or 11.
Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, and Derrick Henry, and then beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl. I think you'd been like, maybe, but probably not.
I mean, I see your point, but if just go to Wikipedia and look at your last Super Bowl winners and pull Joe Flacco out of that list.
Well, here's the thing.
Tom
We
Brady,
think that-
Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers years ago, Big Ben, Tom Brady several times. I mean, these are all Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Joe
But it's
Flacco is the only one that I can think of in the last 20 years that's not a Hall of Fame QB that's won a Super Bowl.
You have a point to an extent, but the only reason we think like this is because Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls. Because Joe he has just as many Super Bowls as Mahomes and Rodgers. And look at those quarterbacks. I'm telling you, Tom Brady has changed the way we think about everything.
No, I agree, and that's a good point. But
yeah, I mean, if you're asking me if I'd rather have like one of the quarterbacks we've mentioned, of course you would. But
well, yeah,
I'm just saying that it's not impossible.
it's very, 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 very difficult, though. Is what
Any
I'm.
given Sunday.
And it's more difficult now than it
Than
was
ever.
12 years ago. That's my point. It can
Especially
still
in the
happen.
AFC.
It can still happen, but it's more difficult now than it was 10, 12 years ago.
I agree. Okay, we've gone off the rails here.
Well, let me.
I don't
ask
even
you
know what
this.
my original question.
Last question.
Go ahead.
If Dak were to do it, is it a crazy run of
No.
an average quarterback?
Oh,
to win
because
a
Dak
Super Bowl?
Prescott's a
It's an
winner.
average
He's got that
quarterback.
winning gene, unless it's 14 seconds on the clock and he gets
But
called
he's-
quarterback draw.
But he's stuck on the
Bro,
losing Dallas Cowboys.
bro. Let me tell y'all something.
Dak's
And
not
this is going to be. And after this, I'm going to shut up for the next half hour. Let me tell y'all something. When I was growing up in East Texas, everyone would always say, Jeff, why aren't you a Cowboys fan? Jeff, you need to root for the Cowboys. Jeff, this and that. The Cowboys are great. Bro, there was nothing worse than going to school every Monday and hearing about the Cowboys and how they were going to go to the Super Bowl. Bro, I had like a legit issue with them. Every time Tony Romo threw a touchdown, I had to hear about how he was supposed to be the MVP.
All right,
And
that's
they would
enough
go
Tony
8-8.
Romo slander on this podcast.
Where
They
are
would
you
go
going with this?
8-8. They would go 8-8 or 9-7 every year. And what I'm saying is, people said Tony Romo's a winner, Des Bryant's a winner. They're saying Dak Prescott is a winner. You want to know what winners do? They win. And Dak Prescott has not won. Tony Romo never won. Winners win. And that's all I'm going to say.
I agree, Jeff. As much as it pains me to say, I agree.
I can't believe we've brought up Andrew Luck and the Dallas Cowboys on this pod in this conversation.
I love it.
But I mean, everyone makes good points. It's a tough league to win in general as it is, but I would feel safer with the young gun slinger quarterback than bum Ryan Tannehill and Jimmy G and Jimmy Average.
I see some thoughts going through Cud's.
Cud, I'll give you last words since you've been the most quiet here. Then I got a big question for Yeager after this.
Yeah. So honestly, I disagree with the thing of saying Stafford is average. I've always liked Stafford.
Hey,
He was in a tough situation. I think he's way better than those other guys that we were saying that are kind of at that kind of, just not really that great, but they're good enough to win some games and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I agree. I mean, yes, when you look back at obviously who won at the end of the year, yeah, all those guys got a pretty good resume and are in the Hall of Fame, or if not, about to be. But at the same time, I think that it's very possible. Yes, it's obviously harder than having Josh Allen and Pat and all those guys at the helm of your squad. But I think it's very possible. And I kind of disagree with you, Hunter, saying it was 12 years ago. It was harder or easier for that to run. I think it's the same. I think back then there was just as many great arm talents now as there is now. So I mean, honestly, I don't see that big a difference in the top tier quarterback levels from 10 years ago.
This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do after the Super Bowl. After football season's over, we're gonna dedicate a whole podcast, and we're gonna go through and we're gonna hash this out because I'm standing by my point. And Cut, I'm gonna double down on this. Matthew Stafford, if they win the Super Bowl, he would be the worst quarterback to win a Super Bowl since Joe Flacco. And I think that says something. I think that means something.
Well, worse compared to Tom Brady and those guys? Obviously, he's worse than them.
Well, that's my point, though, is it's hard to win a Super Bowl without a great quarterback, and he'd be the worst quarterback in what? When did Flacco win? 2010, 2011?
In 2012.
12,
Yeah.
so 10 years. He'd be the worst quarterback in 10 years. Yeah, and he's above league average. I think that says something.
but he is a good player. It's not like he's Curtis Painter.
That's my point.
leading the
That's my
charge.
point. He's a good player, and he would still be the worst one to actually get it done in a decade. That says something about how hard it is to win with even an above average quarterback.
When you have
Yeah.
Tom Brady playing.
Hunter, you're forgetting Nick Foles.
Oh dear, you're right. Dang it. Never mind. I
Oh,
thought that was
the
a good
case
point.
rests.
That
The
really
case, we don't
hurts
even have to
my
do a
argument.
podcast. The case has rested.
That really hurts my argument.
Dang it. All right.
That
Why'd
was-
you have to
I
bring it
can't
up?
believe
Nobody
I
was going to
actually-
remember
I
that,
actually-
Cameron.
I actually can't believe I forgot that.
Hunter, you
I
got to
love
help me
Nick
work on my
Foles.
argument skills. That was poor by me. I
That
never
just
did that.
proves our whole point. We have forgotten that Nick Foles even won. That's how average he is.
Hey, who did they beat in the postseason that year? I don't remember.
I
They
don't
beat Tom Brady in the championship.
Tom Brady in the Super Bowl though. That carries a
I'll
lot
look,
of weight.
I'll look it up right now.
But I just want to say this while we're hammering Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford can make throws that 98% of the league cannot make.
Hey, you want to know something else? That following year, after Nick Foles' Super Bowl,
They went on a
they
run.
would have gone again if Alshon Jeffrey knew how to catch a pass.
That's
If you
true.
remember, he threw it right into Alshon's hands in the numbers, and it just bricked off his hands on
Mhm.
fourth down, and they lost that game.
That's
Nick Foles can play.
Could play. Okay, so Yeager, I've got to jump on your case a little bit, pal. So we'll
Okay,
move
come
off the
on.
Rams. Rams
Come
beat the
on.
Niners 20-17. Super Bowl is set in 2 weeks. Bengals and the Rams. Who in the world thought that was coming? But Yeager got to jump on your case. This is your third time on the pod. Week 1, you gave everyone Bengals plus, what was it, +7, +3.5, or whatever it was against Tennessee. Great pick. Gave out a great winner. Bengals went outright. This week, you go away from the Bengals and your boy Joe Burrow, and they beat the Chiefs outright as a 7-point underdog. And you jump on the Rams -3.5, and they do not cover. So I just want to give you the open floor. Do you want to apologize to Joe Burrow for jumping off the ship and going with the Rams and Stafford? All you, pal.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to defend my case. I do apologize. Joe Burrow, I love the kid. He's just one of those that you don't bet against. But if you remember on the pod last week, I said, don't count out the Bengals. I was like, I'm not going to bet that game because I think it's too up and down, too volatile. But I said, do not count out the Bengals. The reason I took the Rams -3.5, and sweet heaven have mercy, they should have won that game by 14, is because, I pick a lot of my games based on the quarterback, right? And when I took Matt Stafford and Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson and Tyler Higbee and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and Von Miller, and I took the 49ers and I said Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel, I thought there's no way 3.5 doesn't cover. There's no way. I was wrong by half a point. To Cud's credit, you buy the hook, you win the bet. So Cud's got my back. You buy the hook. Like,
Number one
that's
rule.
just, yes, always buy the hook. Always buy the hook.
That's a Mason
So-
Cuddy philosophy there.
But like, granted, I was wrong. I'm 1-1. The Rams kind of screwed me. But you're right. Like, I should have stuck with my boy Joe. But like I said, versus the Chiefs, I was like, that is way too volatile of a game to bet on.
Okay, so we're running short
So-
on time, so I want to get in quick predictions. And Yeg, I'll let you have the floor. So we're talking Burrow. As of right now, we'll retouch it next week. But you got Rams or Bengals in the Super Bowl?
Am I going winner or points?
Just winner for now. We'll get you. I'll give you a whole week to study, and we'll give you a pick on the pod next week. Don't lose 2 in a row.
As of this instant, and I'll come out with my final pick next week. As of this instant, I'm taking the Rams.
Hunter?
And you want to know why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick. The Bengals O-line
Is
got
bad.
chopped up by the Chiefs. And Chris Jones is not Aaron Donald.
Correct.
And that Gaines guy is not Von Miller. And those corners that they have in Kansas City are not Jalen Ramsey. Like, Aaron Donald, if you go back and watch that game, there were like several plays. In fact, I think it was the final play when Jimmy Garoppolo chucked up the ball and it got picked. Aaron Donald literally took the center or the left tackle or whoever he was and just pushed him all the way back into Jimmy Garoppolo. Aaron Donald, they might have to put 3 Bengals O-line on him every single play in the Super Bowl. And that's why I'm taking the Rams.
He's a problem. So Hunter, I'll let you jump in. Quick prediction on the Super Bowl next week, and we'll go into it more in 2 weeks. We'll go into it
I'll
more.
keep it quick. The Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
Joe Burrow, huh? Cud, Super Bowl.
I'm going Bengals as well because I mean, just quick looking back at last game of the week before. I mean, you're just as a fan, if you're sitting there on the couch, you're saying they're about to get the doors blown off of them, and they're just stay composed the whole time. It's a 4-quarter game, and they hang tough no matter who they're playing and how far they're down and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go Joey B taking it home.
Yeah, and Cud, to that point, it's dangerous when a team starts thinking that they're never out of it. No matter what, if they have in the back of their mind, oh, don't worry, we'll come back. We'll come back. Don't worry. There's time. That's dangerous, especially with a young quarterback.
100%.
Trent, Super Bowl prediction.
Bengals. All you need to know is Joe Burrow's a winner. And Matt Stafford, I give him a lot of heck. He's a great quarterback, but he hasn't won anything yet. And you can say the same about Burrow, but you can't because Burrow's just a winner.
Yeah.
You look at
Burrow
what he's
hadn't
done
lost.
over the
Burrow
last
hadn't
4
won anything,
games.
but he hadn't lost anything either.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
he won the national championship 2 years.
And he won the Heisman. And he could win the Super Bowl. The first player to ever do that.
That'd be
National championship, Heisman, Super Bowl.
I'm gonna take, because I hate to be the Grinch, but I'm gonna take the Rams just because sports are cruel, and this is the Bengals. Everyone, Bengals fans. I mean, imagine being a Bengals fan right now. This would be like the Jets or the Browns or the Jaguars making this run. I mean, the Bengals or the Lions. Bengals are in that category of just poverty franchise, and this is their run, and they're going against the big LA Rams who are playing at home, and they finally have a team in LA where they haven't had a team in 20 years, and all these bandwagon California fans are going to the game. The Rams can't even get a real home field in the game. They've got half the Niners fans in the stands, and Rams fans don't deserve this Super Bowl, and the Bengals fans do. I just feel like sports is cruel, and it's going to be the Rams, like Yeager said, in that defensive line. And I'm definitely pulling for the Bengals because it'd just be an awesome story, but I'm taking the Rams just because I think they just have more talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Damn, real quick. Who do you think's better, the Chiefs or the Rams?
Honestly, I honestly would say the Chiefs are probably the better team. The Super Bowl at home is a big deal. But like I said, the Rams are 50-50 every game they play in with their crowd at home because they got so many bandwagon fans over there. Because LA is not a football town. But it's a matchup issue to me.
Yeah, it is a different matchup for sure.
It's just a different matchup. But I'll get into that a little bit next week. So I want to jump into our favorite segment real quick, and then move on, talk a little bit of hoops. Cuds, who the hell are you? Cud, who we got this week?
Okay, this week is another easy pick. I think I said that every week. But this week is Jaquaski Tart.
Oh, no.
I mean, how? I mean, I think my sister could have caught that ball with one hand.
Who?
The safety for the Niners.
They dropped
that punt. Yeah.
Oh.
And not only that, he drops that the very next play, Odell 30 yards down the sideline and a personal foul 15-yard penalty, just like that. And that was when it was 17-7. The Rams go score. It's 14-17, and it's wide open again. So, they catch that pick, go down, and even get a field goal. Even if they don't, they run 5 minutes off that clock. And, and I mean, that they could have had the opportunity, the Niners could have, to score at least 3 or 7. And honestly, maybe put that game away. And I honestly, kind of feel bad for him because it literally does not get any easier than that. It wasn't like he got hit by a receiver. It was right there, and he just alligator armed it. It was horrible.
It was like fielding a punt. It was like a punt returner. I mean, it was thrown right up the wind.
Yeah, and it was just horrible. And honestly, in hindsight, he might have lost him that game. So yeah,
It-
he was the hell of you this week.
It's crazy how we talked about the Chiefs getting stopped at the goal line, how that changed the game, and then the Niners dropping that pass that changed that entire game because now the Rams are like, okay, that's a massive break for us to catch there. So it's just crazy how that works out in football. Momentum's a crazy thing in sports. So Jaquiski Tart, who the hell are you? We're getting some names on here, God. So all right, me, Jaeger, and Trent are going to take a step back here, Cud and Hunter. I'm going to let y'all hash this out. Baylor and Bama this weekend. The Tide take down the Bears. 87-78, Alabama wins at home. Alabama is the most inconsistent basketball team I've ever seen, and Baylor's dealing with, a little bit too high of expectations on this season. So, Cud, as the winning team of this matchup between you two, I'll give you the floor to discuss a little bit of Bama hoops, and it's a massive win for Bama basketball. Get them right back on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, that was a massive win, and we needed it bad. Like you were saying, we've been inconsistent all year, playing bad against teams that we should beat. And then we've been playing way up to the competition against great teams. Yeah, and like I've said to all of y'all, we are the Baltimore Ravens of the league. We play great against good teams, and we'll lose to the damn Jets next week, So yeah, but looking back at the game, I mean, I was really excited the way we didn't settle for threes. I think we only shot 20, which is pretty low for us. We ended up with 42 points in the paint. I thought it was great, and we ended up with, and being a Bama fan, the free throws have always been a problem, and we shot 85%, which is huge for us.
Field goals too, Cud.
Yeah, and and we ended up, I think, with 59% shooting from the field. So I mean, honestly, that's hard to beat anybody when they're shooting that good. So I was obviously pretty happy with my guys, and we got a big game coming up tomorrow at Auburn, and then on Saturday we play Kentucky. So we're in a tough stretch.
Hunter, before I let you jump in and give you the floor, Bama's resume is going to be one of the hardest to seed in the tournament I've ever seen. I'm really excited to start talking a little college basketball as we kind of push towards the end of football season. But Bama's resume basketball, they've beaten Gonzaga, Houston, Baylor, Tennessee, and LSU. Gonzaga, Houston, and Baylor are top 5 basketball teams, and Bama's beaten them all. But they've also lost to Georgia, Missouri, Iona, Memphis, and Davidson. And Iona and Davidson might be tournament teams, but they're, mid-majors. Georgia and Missouri are terrible. We might could get a starting 5 and beat those teams. I mean, they are bad. So Bama, like you said, Cud, Ravens of the league. They play down to bad opponents, and they get up to go for big-time teams. So, Hunter, my condolences, pal. I'll let you have the floor for the Baylor loss, and I see the Bears are losing to West Virginia right now in the first half. So go ahead, pal.
Yeah, spirits are low in Waco. Low. It's not a surprise. Cameron, I've been telling you all season that we're overrated. It's still a good team. I'm not trying to say we're not a good team, but we are overrated compared to our rating, our ranking. And I think a lot of it comes down to we don't have a go-to scorer. James Akinjo thinks he's our go-to scorer, and so he shoots the ball 20 times a game. But frankly, he's not good enough to be the guy with the ball in his hands to come through when we need him. And we don't really have that guy, which I think is going to be the big difference. Last year, that it's hard to compare the two teams because last year's Baylor team was one of the best college basketball teams I've ever seen. But we had Davion Mitchell and Jared Butler, who were two guys that could each individually be the guy when you needed them to be. And we had 2 of them. Well, this year we don't really have a guy and still play hard defense, which is kind of, the culture of a Scott Drew team. No matter what I think of Scott Drew as a coach, they play good defense. They play hard, but unfortunately, I just don't think I don't think we're 1 seed material this year. And Alabama is a very good team when they want to be. I've only watched Alabama play 2 games this season. It was obviously the game on Saturday and then the Houston game. And in both of those games, Alabama looked like a 1 seed. They have incredible athleticism. They shoot the 3 well, and my goodness, they can get out and run. So I'm not surprised at all at what happened. Obviously, I was a little disappointed. Not having LJ Cry really hurt. I don't know why he doesn't start. If I were in Scott Drew's shoes, I would start a smaller lineup with Flagler, Cryer, and Akinjo to put 3 good scoring guards in there. But he doesn't do that because he likes to start Flo Thamba, which is another person that I don't really like talking about too much.
Favorite athlete of all time.
Don't even get me started on Flo. Good, seems like a good dude. Cannot play basketball. Anyway, yeah, I was real disappointed to lose that game. We lost a couple of disappointing games in the last couple of weeks. Like you said, down tonight, but we're missing Flagler and Cryer tonight, so I didn't have high expectations. So our only guard is James Akinjo, and then Dale Bonner started, who's a D2 transfer. So we don't. This is all with losing Langston Love, who was a projected one and done guard before the season started out with an ACL. So our guard pool is pretty depleted right now. But yeah, Saturday was an awesome game. The atmosphere was everything you want to see college basketball. And like you said, Cameron, I can't wait to get deeper in picking apart this bracket once it comes up closer and watch my Bears try and make the Sweet 16 this year. That's the goal, Sweet 16.
Gosh, I cannot wait for March Madness to start breaking down some hoops. But so that's what I was going to ask you, Hunter, before we moved on, because we're kind of running out of time. Is it championship or bust for Baylor after following last season, or would you be satisfied with an Elite Eight, Sweet 16 type run?
I think Elite Eight would be great. Like I said, I don't think we're that great of a basketball team. The good news is there really aren't many great teams this year. There hasn't been one team who's been consistent throughout. Unfortunately, I think Gonzaga is still probably the best team in the country. Just they have so much size. They have Drew Timme, who's kind of a softie, but he's still a good basketball player. Chet Holmgren is a unicorn, and they still have some good guard play as well. So they're going to be the team to beat, in my opinion. And then obviously you've got Duke. Purdue's got so much size. They're going to be a hard team to beat, even though they're also kind of soft. I don't think it's championship or bust for Baylor. I would take Elite Eight. Final Four would be amazing. So no, we have no business expecting a national championship this year.
Well, I wanted to let you guys kind of hash out that game. Big game in college basketball this weekend for one. And I know, Baylor and Alabama alumni. So I wanted to let y'all kind of get into that. So I definitely look forward to talking some more hoops in the future. It's going to be fun. I think it's a kind of I think Gonzaga is the best team in the country, but it could be one of those wide open years in college hoops where who the hell knows who's going to win the whole thing. So, all right, I want to move on. We're going to do another top 5 this week, and I will let my man Trent start this one off. It is Pro Bowl week in college and in the NFL, and it is one of the worst weeks of the calendar year. Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl. Nobody even good plays in the Pro Bowl. I saw Russell Wilson got invited today. He missed half the season with a thumb injury. He's playing in the Pro Bowl. I mean, it's so dumb. I don't know why like these multi-million-dollar guys going to go get hurt playing a physical game in the Pro Bowl for no reason. I mean, just in my opinion, get rid of the Pro Bowl. We should have made that a segment because I hate the Pro Bowl. I should have made that brownish rant. So it's one of my least favorite weeks of the year. And it got me thinking, bottom 5 worst days of the sports calendar is our topic this week. So Trent, I'll let you get started. Give me your top 5.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that one's on my list for sure. But you can make the same argument for the NBA All-Star Game and the MLB All-Star Game, in my opinion. Some people may like it, and it still may be the same.
But those aren't contact sports, in my opinion. I've opened up a whole nother can of worms with this, but no one's going to get hurt in the MLB All-Star Game unless it's a freak injury. Like football's.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm not arguing for the injuries. I just don't think
that's my beef with it.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's a whole other debate to decide whether the NBA All-Star Game used to be competitive versus what it is now. But my number 1, actually, let's go number 1 to 5. So my number 1 is the day after college football, the playoffs. That one sucks, dude. I mean, that's just my favorite sport. That's a tough one. Bowl season's done. Texas football's done. It's my favorite sport. So basically, all I follow now is Texas football, and that's been slowly killing me.
That is a tough one.
Yeah. But so that one's my number 1. Number 2 is the day after the Masters. After 4 days of absolute amazing sporting event. It's so sad. The day after the Super Bowl, because then the football's completely done. And then 4 was my Pro Bowl. And then 5, this one, y'all are not going to agree with this one. This is probably going to get ridiculed. But the day after signing day. But it has changed. Now, hold on. It has changed. I shouldn't make this my one now, but if you'd have asked me like 3 or 4 years ago when it actually meant something, like the signing day actually meant something, then it would have been probably number like 2 or 3. But now you have 2 signing periods. You have one in November and then you have one in February. And then you have the portal. So you're essentially recruiting 365. So it's not as big of a deal anymore, but I couldn't find any other day. So I had to have a filler there. So I would say day after signing day. But I'm just a recruiting nut. So
Yeah, you and recruiting, I've yet to understand it. I know you love it, and I get all my recruiting info from you. So I'm glad somebody follows it because I'm out of the loop on the recruiting. So
don't go down the rabbit hole. You follow way too many sports to be a recruiting nut. You wouldn't have any time left in the day to sleep.
that's a good point, Trent. That is a good point. I'll let you handle the recruiting for us. But yeah, I need to. I'm gonna have to change my list because some of those days after, like the day after college football, I hate that day because we gotta wait 9 months to get it back. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Jaeger do his. Jaeger's is gonna be very interesting. I have a feeling. So Jaeger, go ahead and give me your worst 5 days of the calendar year. Jaeger, are you frozen in time?
I think we lost him.
Oh no,
We lost
technical
Jaeger.
difficulties on 903. All right, Cud, we'll persevere, Cud. Give me your bottom 5 days of the calendar year.
Okay, so one, like let me explain before Trent, you blow a gasket here. Is signing day as a whole, recruiting as a whole.
I agree, Cud.
I don't like it because every second up until they sign, those kids, how many videos do you see every single year where they're put on the hat and they're like, no, and then they were supposed to be, going there the whole time. I don't like it because as a fan, those players swap literally all the time, literally up until the last possible second. So it's great the next day because you know exactly who you got, but up until then, I don't like it.
I don't want to hear it. You're a Bama fan. You have no reason to follow signing day. You just reload the next group of 5 stars.
I
Doesn't
like
affect you at all.
I like signing day. I don't like it leading up to signing day because people do that. All of our teams are top programs where we get all great
Bob, are you kidding me? Texas is not a top program. We are literally in.
Okay.
We're considered. We're the Lions. We are the Lions of college football.
Y'all have been struggling, but y'all have the ability to get big name players.
Trent, do you know how bad the Lions are? That's not a very good comparison.
All I'm saying, Bob, is there's a reason I love signing day, and it ain't because we're so good at football during the season. It's the only time I can be like, oh my gosh, top 5, baby. Yeah. After that, it's misery.
Okay,
Great pick, Cud. I love that.
Okay, and the second one is the off season from NFL and college football. But now we have this USFL starting up in April. So we're going to have some ball. It might not be at the same level or anything, but I'll still watch every down.
Will, do you think that league makes it to the end of the season?
I sure hope so. There's only 8 teams. So
I can't wait to cover it on the pod.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll watch every down. So, I could care less how bad it is. It's still football. So that was the second one. The third one is the Pro Bowl. Like Cameron was just saying, big name guys, especially their teams that are like late in the season right now playing the Super Bowl, they're not going to obviously play in it because they're playing for all the marbles. Like you said, Russell Wilson got in there. What is that? And Cooper Kupp is sitting out, so they put CeeDee Lamb in there.
How about Deontay Johnson, who led the league in drops playing in the Pro Bowl? Cud, I know you didn't even talk about that.
Deontay Johnson is my least favorite player in the league.
I can't believe I blew it as a producer and not putting the Pro Bowl on a Brownies rant or a topic of discussion. It is so stupid.
Yeah,
go ahead and I'll let you finish.
It's so dumb. The best player in the league this year, Cooper Kupp, won't be a all-star because he's playing for the Super Bowl. That's just dumb. So that's the third one. And then the fourth one I have the week before the Super Bowl. It's just dead. This weekend we got nothing but hoops on. So just kind of playing, leading up to the game. And then the fifth one is Christmas Day. I think I don't really like NBA basketball on Christmas Day as everyone is. It's not like Thanksgiving and the Cowboys and another team or 2 other teams are playing on Thanksgiving Day. I love NFL on Thanksgiving. It's not the same on Christmas Day. I think it's only the NBA and the NHL, and it's only like a handful of games. So
That's such a bad take, Cud.
I don't really care for it that much. It doesn't get me excited. But
Christmas Day hoops is unreal. I love Christmas Day hoops.
nah. And it's the same 5 teams that play every year. So I mean, it's not like, you're seeing a change about who's playing. The Lakers are playing probably the Knicks every single season.
You're the
on
Grinch,
Christmas Day.
Cud.
The Celtics are probably playing, I don't even know.
You bet your tail end we're playing on Christmas. You're just mad because the Spurs will never get invited to play on Christmas Day.
We don't want to play on Christmas Day.
But yeah,
We'll take the day off and rest.
that's terrible. That's a terrible.
So that's my 5.
All right, Yeg, we've persevered through the technical difficulties. I'll let you give your top 5 worst days of the calendar year.
All right, I'm going to go 5-1. Number 5 is the day after the World Cup is over. I love the World Cup.
Interesting.
There's nothing better than seeing all those all those fans come together to root for their countries. Like you ever notice that during the World Cup, there's no world beef? People are just united in a great sporting event. Like you never hear about any problems with like international terrorism or anything during the World Cup because no one cares about beefing with other countries. They just want to watch soccer. Literally the day after the World Cup, it's like I gotta wait 4 more years to see this kind of passion again. Like I think the World Cup should be like the Ryder Cup, and it should be every other year, to be totally honest.
The realization of being so far away, I think that's a good one. Yeah, that's tough.
Dude, you want to know the last time we had the World Cup was 3 months after I got home from my mission. That's how long it's been.
That's crazy.
That's how long it's been.
Wow.
Yeah. Number 4 is January 26th, the Kobe Bryant death anniversary. Kobe Bryant, he was like, I remember just watching him, listening to him. His mindset was like what made me love sports. Because I never got to watch Michael Jordan, right? Who had the same type of mindset, but Kobe Bryant just win at all costs. You're never out of the game. Find a way to beat them. He was like part of what made me. Like even on the golf course, I was like, there's a way to make par on this hole, or there's a way to go from shooting 48 to 33 on the back 9. And so that, like, I've only ever worn Kobe shoes playing ball all my life. Number 3 is the day Texas loses in March Madness. There is nothing that frustrates me more than watching the Longhorns inevitably play below their potential and lose to some bum team like last year when they lost to Stephen F. Austin.
Abilene
Christian, whatever.
That was embarrassing.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't even know who they lost to. Like the fact that the guy was straight up and they called a foul and Abilene Christian got to shoot a couple free throws. Like I was so disheartened. Jacob took off his shoe and threw it at the wall when we were watching that game last year. Like it was one of the most depressing things. Like we had a ton of people over specifically to watch Texas because Jacob and I get stoked to see the Longhorns in March Madness. And like, I literally, like, after they lost, I was like, hey, everyone, good night. And I just went to bed.
Yeah. You know who they lost to the last time they were in March Madness before Abilene Christian?
Who?
Northern Iowa.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Texas just finds a way to break my heart.
Death, taxes, and Texas losing in the first round.
Yeah.
And they scored like 49 points in that game against ACU last year. Like it was an abysmal performance from Texas.
Which is why it's my number 3 worst sports day of the year, because Texas always finds a way to lose in dramatic fashion. Number 2, Black Tuesday. There's nothing I hate more than the day after the regular season, the NFL is over, and just 6 coaches get fired. It is so like, I just feel bad, because it's like every half hour, some new coach is just getting just axed. And I'm like, man, because I feel for them. It's like they're in terrible organizations. The GMs there are awful. The owners there haven't won in 10 years. Why are they blaming this guy? Like when Brian Flores got fired this year, I was like, dude, what the, like, it's just like, it's crazy to me. And I hate it I hate it, hate it, hate it. In fact, fire your coach, but don't report it. I don't want to know about it. It just makes me sad. Number one, this is without a doubt my number one, and it's been this way like my whole life. The day after the Super Bowl, I wake up that Monday morning and I'm like, I don't know what to do for the next 7 months. Because every year I run like 3 fantasy football teams. I have people over every Sunday to like Traeger and eat and watch the football games, like Traeger grills, Traeger meats. I have people over for Sunday night football. I have people come over for Thursday night football. I have people come over for Monday night football. I watch all the Thanksgiving games. Like the NFL just becomes a massive part of my life. The day after the morning after the Super Bowl, I'm like, dude, I am like, I'm genuinely sad. Like genuinely sad. I wake up and sit there and I just have to every year accept the fact that it's 7 more months until NFL's back.
Yeah.
And that's my top 5.
Yeah, Super Bowl's a tough one, man, because you realize, man, I can't watch football again until September. And it's first week of February type deal. So that's tough. So Hunter, I'll let you give your top 5 and I'll roll mine off real quick and we'll go to our final segment.
All right, so the first 2 of mine are day afters, kind of like we've been doing. Number 5 for me is day after March Madness. The NCAA basketball tournament's probably my favorite sporting event, that or maybe the Masters, which will lead me into my number 4, which is the day after the Masters. It's especially with the Masters, it's real sad because that's the one special event of the year. Most golf tournaments look alike. They go to similar courses and it's the same guys and the production's all the same. But then you go to the Masters and it's different. The music's different. The course just looks different. And there's a special mystique about it every year. And that's what I look forward to every year. And then, so the Monday after it's over, it's always real sad. Number 3, everybody's already touched on it. It's the Pro Bowl. And Trent, I'm going to poke back at you a little bit here, talking about Major League Baseball and the NBA All-Star Game. Those are different because the best players actually play. I don't like the NBA. I actually can't stand the NBA. I actually like watching the All-Star Game because it's the best part of the NBA, which is the athleticism of the players. It's on display. And
no
they don't
defense.
exactly. They don't even try to fake it like they do in the regular season. There's no defense in the regular season, but they try and act like there is. At least in the All-Star Game, they're honest about it. So they just go out there and they say, hey, I'm just going to be an athlete for 2 hours and I enjoy it. And then with Major League Baseball, I love the All-Star Game in baseball. I think it's awesome. I wish they'd go back to where the winner of the All-Star Game got home field in the World Series. That was incredible. I loved having something on the line in the All-Star Game. Anyway, I'm going to catch some heat for this. Number 2 on my list is the NBA Finals. I hate it. Another thing that makes it bad is that's the only thing going on in sports. And so that's all that is talked about in sports media. And I could care less about the NBA Finals. So I get no sports media for about 10 days. So I'm hoping for a sweep every year.
Shattuck, that might be the coldest take.
You and Cud just threw out 2 rough takes.
All right, well, just wait.
The NBA Finals, do you not remember Cavs down 3-1? Like, there are some holy moments.
I remember hearing about it, yeah.
I like the finals.
Can't do
That's
it. All
such
right.
a bad take.
If y'all didn't like that one, you're real not going to like this one.
Sadness in your heart compared to when the NBA Finals are going on, or compared to the Monday after the Masters?
Listen, well, and it's also about perception too, about how I view it versus everybody else. Everybody else loves the NBA Finals. I'm like, oh yeah, that's going on. I might as well check the score after the game's over.
Hunter, I feel the same way as you about opening day for baseball.
Yeah.
Oh my!
I disagree.
I
think you're wrong, but
That's-
I understand where you're coming from.
Exactly. I understand where you're coming
Brett,
from.
no. The opening day in baseball is a sacred religious day.
Everyone's got holiday, Trent. What's wrong with you?
Everyone's got the massive United States flags out to sing the national anthem. People got their hats off, hands over their hearts. There is not a
Listen, Jeff,
more American.
You know
day
what that is
in
for me,
baseball
baby. That's
than
every
the
day that
opening
ends in
baseball.
Y. I don't need to watch a baseball game to experience that.
Oh my!
I'm not a fanatic of the MLB. I'll watch some games here and there, and then I'll definitely watch like October baseball. But opening day is one where every single year I get on StubHub and I'm like, what opening day game could I buy tickets to? That is just a religious.
I know it's a cold take. I'm just saying that I understand where Hunter's coming from. I could care less about baseball.
I'm kicking you out of the text chat.
That's typical of an Astros fan, isn't it, Hunter?
Yeah, my gosh. They hadn't started cheating on opening day yet. They wait till later on in the season.
Exactly
Hey,
right.
y'all watch your mouths about the Astros.
Speaking of getting
Yeah.
kicked out of group messages. All right. So I'm going to need to explain this one. So nobody react until I explain. Okay. The first day of bowl season. Now hear me out. So I love bowl season, kind of. We've been through that on this podcast.
No, you don't.
I love postseason football. I think it's great. So I get all excited for it. And I'm like, oh, sweet, bowl game's on. And I turn it on, and it's Western Kentucky versus Middle Tennessee. And it's garbage football.
It was a
It's
war.
garbage
Zappy.
football. Absolutely terrible. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have to wait 2.5 weeks to see a real football game? What's going on? This is supposed to be exciting. And it's terrible. It's the worst feeling ever. You get so excited for bowl season. It's been 2 weeks since the regular season ended, since the conference championship games. Like, oh, finally some college football. And it's the dadgum MAC. Like, what are we doing? It's terrible. And so then you have to wait 2 more weeks for real football. And then, no, it's terrible. Worst day of the year.
Hunter, we do not disrespect Maction on this pod.
Well, I just did. Dang it.
We don't do that.
I will disrespect them until they start playing more attractive football.
It's never
No.
going to happen. That's why it's Maction.
You want to know why you think that way, Shattuck? Is
Why?
because all season, the only games on TV are the Ohio State Michigans, the
Wrong. I watch Baylor football.
just
Trust me. I see bad football.
maybe on the Big 12 network, but I'm talking the large majority of people watch fantastic games all year long. And then, yes, not unfortunately, but yes, the first
No,
days
it's
of the bowl
unfortunate.
season.
Come on. It's unfortunate.
No, it's not. Is because those are the games, and because we're so used to fantastic, real quality, top of the conferences football, all of a sudden those bowl games between Northern Alabama and freaking I don't even know
Exactly.
are like
Listen.
these just games of like, nah, but they're still so nice.
This
Y'all
is
hate
why
fun.
it's bad. It's because of the letdown of the
Mhm.
excitement that goes into, oh, it's bowl season. I get to watch postseason college football. It's going to be great. There's 73 fans. Half the teams are out because they didn't feel like getting out of bed to go play in a bowl game. And the football's terrible. It's such a
Right.
letdown. And
Those 73
it's the
fans
worst
have
day.
more grit than the whole stadium of baseball fans.
It's probably because
And I'm
tickets were
coming to
$8
DC
a
to
pop,
stab you
or
with
they-
an ice pick, Hunter.
or they're related to somebody on the team.
Y'all are terrible today. These are terrible takes.
Well, let's
Gabe
hear
was
yours,
the only
then,
one
Bob.
with
Let's hear
six.
yours. Yours is going to be the day that Tennessee loses in week 1, the day Tennessee
mine-
loses in week 2, the
We
day
don't
Tennessee
lose
loses in
now.
week 3.
The days
How
the
many
refs
days-
cost my
how-
team a game.
How many days since Tennessee beat Bama?
It's
That's a
lot.
good question.
Where's
It's
J-Lab?
high.
It's high.
Yeah, I'm sure J-Lad will comment and give me the number on that, but it's been a while. My list is going to be different than what I wrote it up, but it's a pretty much microcosm of what y'all have all said. Number 5 is the Pro Bowl because it's the dumbest event in American sports. I don't understand it. Just give your awards to everyone. Get your Pro Bowl roster for, hey, Cooper Kupp, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. This is your list, and just get on with it. We don't have to watch the Pro Bowl. They do it just to give us a game on Sunday, I guess, but I could care less to watch. I'll be watching Minnesota play Iowa on Sunday before I watch the Pro Bowl. So that's number 5. Number 4 is Christmas Eve. There's not one American sport on Christmas Eve. Not a single one. I think the Hawaii Bowl kind of falls in that area. Sometimes it is on Christmas Eve, but there's nothing to watch on Christmas Eve. Literally nothing. And, it's a holiday Christmas Eve, but, give me a sport. Come on, somebody play. And then number 3 is, to me, the day before March Madness is a terrible day because I'm so freaking excited to watch March Madness basketball. And there's nothing going on except for, I think, maybe the NBA and NHL is all we got. And it's still too early for that stuff to matter. And I'm just dying to watch March Madness. So that's that. And number 2 is a summer day without Rangers baseball. I'm not watching the Pirates play the Phillies on ESPN at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday in the summer. Just not doing it. I'll watch
Yeah,
the
but
Rangers.
you know who is playing? The Yankees and the Red Sox. So turn that on.
I'm not watching the Yankees in my free time gig. Not
I'll tell you what,
doing it.
Cam. I'll tell you what. You know what's worse than that is an afternoon game because it's the last game of the series. Rags lose, of course, and then not
Oh,
only do you not have a Rangers game to watch that night, but then you're sulking after an afternoon loss.
loss.
That's as bad as it gets.
That's good thinking. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. Yeah, those days are the absolute worst when we get beat 11-1 at 2 o'clock and we got to sit all night and think about how bad we are.
Yep.
How about
All
when the
too
Rangers
often.
went to the World Series 3 years in a row?
2 years
Hey,
in a
don't-
row. We're not talking about that. Yeah, you pipe down.
2 years in a row, lost both of them.
I wish
Yeah.
he'd get kicked off this thing again.
Yeah, just mute your mic.
And then number one to me, we all touched on it, is to me, it's the day after a massive sporting event. Like the day after the Super Bowl, the day after the Natty, day after the World Cup, the day after the Masters. There's nothing that makes me more sad, Hunter, and you'll agree with this, is getting on my phone and deleting the Masters app for the year, because it is the sign of the end. I've got to wait 365 more days for the Masters.
I
Same
can't do
thing
it.
with March Madness.
I can't do it until I never delete the Masters app until about a month after, just because I can't bring myself to do
Yeah.
it. It's so sad. It's the
It-
most
it-
pitiful thing about
the
me.
most pitiful thing. It makes me feel like a loser, but it makes me sad because I'm like, I've got to wait so long for this again. And to me, that's just, and that's my list. And that's all I got on my top 5. So we're going to move on to our final segment, United States soccer. We let Hunter kind of talk about it a little bit on the pod. Last week we beat El Salvador.
We beat El Salvador at home
No.
on Thursday.
And then we have a massive game against the top team in the group, Canada, and we get beat 2-0 in their place. It really, I didn't get to watch too much of the game because it was on Paramount Plus, which is just a joke and another rant in itself. But disappointing loss, because now we only have 4 games left, and it kind of puts us on a little bit of ice. I still think we're okay as far as World Cup qualifications, but it's time to get just a little bit nervous. So Hunter, kind of open floor here. Is Hunter in danger? Is the United States soccer, are we in trouble? Is this a must win against Honduras Wednesday night?
I'm going to say yes. That sounds a little bit sports talk radio hot take, but here's the deal. So we have 4 games left. Right now, the standings are Canada has 22 points, U.S. and Mexico are tied with 18 points, and Panama has 17 points. And top 3 get automatic qualification. Okay, so that's obviously the goal. We don't want to have to wait till June to play a play-in game against New Zealand. New Zealand's not good, but you don't want to have to wait for that. You don't want to have to bank on a winner go home game to make it into the World Series, or to the World Series, the World Cup, right? So here's the deal. We got 4 games left, like you said. One of them is away at Mexico. The other is away at Costa Rica. Those are the 2 away games we have. In the history of World Cup qualifying, we have won or tied 0 games at Costa Rica. 0. We have lost every single one of them. And at Mexico, we have 0 wins and 1 draw in the history of World Cup qualifying. So don't expect points coming from those games. That's the thing. So we still have 12 points on the table, but we have won at a grand total of 1 point coming from those 2 games in the history of World Cup qualifying. The good news is we play at home against Honduras on Wednesday, and then at home against Panama in March in the last window of games. And of course, Panama is in 4th place right now. That's going to be the biggest game that we have remaining, assuming Panama doesn't lose the next 2. So I think Wednesday is an absolute must win, because if we lose, then we'll likely be in 3rd or 4th place going into the last window. And then we have those 2 brutal games coming up out of those last 3. And just as a fan, I do not want that last game at Costa Rica to mean anything. I don't know if I can handle the stress that would come with 1 game at Costa Rica, World Cup qualification on the line. I don't want to have to deal with that. So everybody needs to pay attention Wednesday night. I believe it starts at 7:30 on FS1 at home against Honduras. It's supposed to be below 0 Fahrenheit by kickoff. Below 0, not below freezing, below 0. So it's going to be miserable. It's going to be great television. The atmosphere is going to be awesome. Everybody needs to tune in. I said it on Twitter, it is the biggest soccer game in the United States in the last 5 years since we lost to Trinidad and missed out on the 18 World Cup.
Yeah, it's an absolute must win Wednesday.
Oh,
We got
Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
Wednesday night.
Yeah, we got to do some rallying because we were in pretty good shape until Canada kind of gave us a little wake up call.
And man, Cameron, I told you this months ago. Canada's for real. You laughed at me when I said Canada's good at soccer. They are for real.
Yeah, Canada's the real deal, and it's gonna be interesting last 4 games. Like you said, we got some tough environments to play in at Mexico, at Costa Rica, and then playing in 0-degree weather on Wednesday. So we'll be rallying the boys. We get a good win and put us in pretty good shape moving forward. We need to get the win, not the draw, and absolutely not a loss. That's not an option. So, well, that's all we got for this week. Another real good pod for the 903 Sports Boys. Thanks everybody for listening. We will be back next week after this lame week of the Pro Bowl this week. We'll talk a little Super Bowl next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.